Were you named after anyone?
One was D. Card and D. Reed. A few D's in Carson at the time, but I don't know why I was named D.
Okay.
I was the fourth boy, A, B, C, D.
Oh, there you go. That could be true.
So they jumped to P.
Well, every day's a P day now. Every hour's P day.
But for the longest time, he didn't think his middle name was Redford. He just thought it was Art
Oh.
until he got a birth certificate or something.
Oh, really?
Right.
Or certificate of live birth, and Grandma Nora actually wrote out D. Redford Olsen, but forever he just thought it was D. R. Olsen.
On my birth certificate I got, it was GR.
And so you must have got your birth certificate a lot
Well,
later.
I never did get a birth certificate when I
Or
was
certificate
born.
of living.
When I went to go on my mission, I had to get a passport. And I sent away for it. They wouldn't give me one because they had no record of birth. And so I had to find somebody who had a baby about the same time that I was born. And a doctor or a midwife was there. So, and Ida, my dad's youngest sister, the twin, the older of the twins, her son was born 4 days before I was, Ken Wilson. And so she had to sign that she knew that I was born. And then my mom's older sister, Aunt Nettie, Bonnie, she was helping the doctor as a midwife when I was born. And I was born in the Grandma and Grandpa Redford's apartment, which where the Temple Street Chapel is now. Connection there.
And Grandma, what significance does your name have?
Well, Mom wasn't expecting twins, and when Wayne and I were born, she put the word out to everybody because my oldest sister was 17, and a hunt for twin names. And so Diane and Dwayne, it's just an I and a U difference.
So, Grandma, what is your very first memory?
Oh. Well, we lived out to Wolford, and so anything that I remember is before I was 5 or 6 years old. We moved to town when I was 6. And so I remember things of happening, like going and trying to find my dad on the combine, and I'd hear the combine, and so I'd head for there, and then when I got there, it was over here. And so I remember wandering through the fields. And Mom says when I got home, my dress was all torn because I'd gone through the barbed wire.
Got a cut on everything.
But I found Dad, finally.
And Grandpa, what was your very first memory?
My very first memory that I can remember is when I was born. When I was born,
You gotta
stand
stand up. The Lord pulled out my shirt and says, "You're done." And that's all. Right there.
You're done. His belly button is belly button.
And what was your childhood like? What did you do for fun as a kid?
Our fun was playing ball in the summertime, riding our horses and stuff like that. And all the kids around here used to have horses and all. So we'd just get 10 or so kids together and we'd ride our horses, and
Did you ever get in trouble?
lots of times. Because I didn't make it home in time.
What were your hobbies growing up? Music, sports, etc.
What are hobbies?
Things you like to do.
Well, my hobbies was just my horses. I had 6 sorrel horses, and I could lay down all at once. Then I could somersault over them and stuff like that. And Berdine Beezer, she come up to me a few years ago and says, "I still remember you down at the ball diamond on the 4th of July, or the 1st of July, with your horses and somersaulting over them." One old lady, I could wrap my legs around her neck and get down and hold on her front feet, her ankles, and we would walk off. And old Butte I had, she was born the 20th of May, 1957. Anyway, I could get on her without any bridle, any halter or nothing. And I could ride her any place. And we were up at the Wahlberger place. That was the first place we lived and we bought up there at the Wahlberger place. And I was breaking an Indian horse. And the Indian horse got away on us and took off across the reserve. And I jumped on this mare, Old Butte, and I took after that dumb Indian horse. And I ran her clear down to the St. Paul School across the reserve. And he was plumb tuckered up. We rode up beside him, I grabbed a hold of his rein and I led him back home.
Impressive.
Believe it or not.
We got some work to do.
Horses like we used to. Every day, all day long.
And what was your favorite birthday or Christmas present? Or Christmas present or memory?
I think the one I remember most of my birthday was, I turned 16. Aunt Georgine, Ben's wife, was working at the Treasury Branch. And she brought me home my driver's license for $1.
Wow.
Bought it, and that was my birthday present.
Okay, Grandma, what was your childhood like? What did you do as fun as a kid?
Well, we always had horses too. We lived out to Wolford, and my horse's name was Pepper.
Pepper.
Mm-hmm.
Pepper.
Miss Pepper. And that was the first and the only horse that I ever had that was mine. All the rest were just belonged to the farm. And we had a lady too, and she was just as gentle. You could go out and catch her without a bridle and get on her and ride her without a bridle too. She was really gentle. But I also remember the turkeys that we had, and I didn't like the turkeys. And we had a coal bin, and I remember Dwayne and I, one would be throwing coal at the turkey and the other would be yelling at for Mom to come help us. Because the turkeys would get us. But we had a creek that went along just through our place, and we used to go down swimming and playing in the creek all the time. And, I didn't have any friends close by, so Sundays were our day. And in the wintertime, Dad used to hook up the sleigh. He was the bishop out there. So he would hook up the sleigh and we'd go to church up to Wolford, which was about 4 or 5 miles in the sleigh. Of course. But we would go all day because Dad was the bishop and we just had one outfit. So Sundays, of course, you didn't have combined meetings. You had Sunday school, and then they had Priesthood Relief Society, and then we had sacrament meetings. So during Priesthood Relief Society, I could go over to our friend's place and play. So that was our play date, was on Sunday.
Between the two meetings?
Between the two meetings.
And did you ever get in trouble? What was it for? I guess just not getting in on time. I remember there was a bunch of us when I lived in Cardston, and down where the trailer site is, down at the end of, you know where where we used to live. Down there was our barnyard, and as kids used to go down there, all of us, and play. And sometimes it was after dark, and I remember one time Dad come home before me. We saw him coming, and we sidetracked and got home before he did. So he was kind of mad at you then. Usually, it was pretty easy. And what was your favorite birthday or Christmas present or memory?
I got a set of dishes for Christmas. A little set of dishes, and they were really special.
How did you meet Grandma?
At a young adult.
Young adults.
Young adult outing.
You can jump in too if
He's wrong.
Tell us the love story.
He come in the room. Here I am, every bounce and ounce of me.
was solid back then. I didn't flop like I do now.
What is your favorite quality about Grandma?
Oh, she keeps clean. She cooks good. She makes me fat.
Chance. We have one.
Yeah.
After they finish. How did you propose? What's that story?
Let's ask Grandma that story.
I don't think I ever did.
Randy's like,
Well, I was living in an apartment in Cardston. It was in Dr. Williams's dental office downstairs. And so he came in and he says, I think we should get married.
Can it matter? Should we get married before then?
And so,
I was forced into it because of Ken and Pat was going to get married first. I had to dance in the pig trough. And I couldn't let that happen. So, it must have been a bad dream or something. It turned
Oh,
out-
you're such a romantic.
It turned out really.
and he went home and told his mom.
Back
She
then
says-
you didn't talk to ask permission?
No, I never asked her that.
And I remember him telling me that Grandma says, why are you getting married to her? Because I can't think of any reason not to.
Aww.
We've
And
been going on our honeymoon.
Oh, what were you doing then?
We left
I don't-
here right after our wedding and made it as far as Babb, Montana.
because we hit the border just at 11 o'clock at night, just before they were locking up. And we didn't have a clue where we were going.
So we made it to Babb and got a motel room. In Babb.
What was the best part of motherhood or fatherhood? We'll start with Grandma. What was the best part of motherhood? Or is the best part of motherhood?
Well, I worked almost, like Rennie was 3 weeks old when I went back to work. And Grandpa tended Rennie.
And I put the kids up for breakfast and did the chores, got them ready for school, got them out on the bus.
And I was home by the time they got home from school.
And I was off to work.
But what was your favorite part of motherhood?
Work. Being away from you kids.
Grandma, what is one of the hardest things you've had to face, and how did you get through it?
I guess when my parents died. It's hard.
It's hard.
But time gets easier. And we stayed with Mom, you know, that first few weeks. And then we moved out. Because I'd never, well, my oldest sister had died. And that was the only other death that I had remembered, because I never had grandparents because they'd all died. And so I had never had death in the family until my sister and then my dad died. And Mom was alone for 40 years before she died. Death is hard.
Death is good.
Somebody else up there is happy when you die.
And Grandpa, what is one of the hardest things you've had to face, and how did you get through it?
You probably don't want to know. I think the hardest thing in my life is when Macy died. And I couldn't get over it. I couldn't understand why God would take her so cruelly and let that wind come up and blow that swing over. That really got to me. I just couldn't handle it. And I guess in my lowest hour, I I heard a voice come into my mind and said, "Wist ye not that I be about my Father?" And that took the pain away. But she had another mission to do, and that's been the hardest thing I think that I've ever dealt with.
What is the coolest thing that has been invented in your lifetime?
That has what?
Been invented in your lifetime?
The coolest thing?
Color TV.
Electronics.
Color TV for Grandma?
Pardon?
Grandma said color TV.
Yeah. A telephone, a car. When we first got married, we would, like Dee said, we'd ride the sleigh to the road, and then catch a ride in a car to Christmas dinner, into town to Christmas dinner. Yeah, you know, the changes that we've had, that we've lived through.
The inside bathroom.
Yeah.
Indoor plumbing.
Exactly.
The first 6 years of my life, it was outside to the outhouse.
Uh-huh.
And the big tub in front of the stove on Saturday night.
Yeah.
You
And I
listening,
got
Stetson?
first, I always wanted to have the bath last, because I had more water. Because the first person bathing only had about this much water. But by the time I could get in, I probably had this much water.
Where's all the extra water coming from?
Well, you kept adding hot water.
And that was back when you only got bath once a week, and that was on Saturday night. You know, it wasn't a case where you got up and have a shower every morning.
Once a week.
And if you had to get up at night, it was we had a bathroom, but it was just a little room with a pot in it. So
So really, the changes in the comfort has just,
Yes, you
Well,
guys.
just think of the gas stove,
yeah.
an electric light, when the folks got the old wind charger and put lights in the house. Even the gas lamp was weak.
Getting the telephones, you know, the folks that would go to the neighbors to play cards, they'd take the phone off the hook and get to the neighbors and take the phone off the hook, and they could tell whether the kids were minding their business or not.
It was the baby monitor back then.
yeah, but you had about 20 people on your line, so you had to be careful what you said because you didn't know who was listening.
And
See
there's
that old phone out there on the wall?
It is Facebook now.
That's my grandparents' phone. My grandparents.
And I was raised with a phone like that too.
And I think there was 32 families using the one line, because it went clear to the border, straight across.
Videos on.
Long and
Cell
too
phones.
short was our ring.
Ours was 3 longs. Our 1815 phone number.
What is one of your greatest accomplishments?
7 kids.
Look at this.
I grew up not having aunts and uncles or cousins. Because I had one cousin in Pocatello that was a year younger than me. And all the rest were old and gone, and Mom came from Utah and Dad was from Idaho. So we didn't have any close cousins. So look how lucky you guys are.
Oh, lucky we are.
How lucky we are.
If you could give any advice to future generations or to your posterity, what would it be?
Keep close. Keep close.
Stay close.
Stay close. Well, I got blessed working as a nurse because a lot of you kids I saw come into the world. Because I got to be there when you were born. So your moms had a special nurse right there. So I was probably the first one after the doctor to hold you. And then I gave them to your mom. I could have been there too.
Awesome.
If you were born in Clarkston, I was there.
Have you ever broken a bone?
Your leg taking part of potatoes down.
Your arm?
I
Yeah.
broke my foot in here, broke some bones. And then just after I retired from work, I fell off the stool and broke my wrist. Left wrist.
And Grandpa, what about you?
I had a horse fall with me.
What were your cows?
You're on your mission. 88. You're born that year.
Yeah. I was gonna say. That was
Born that year.
My fault.
Chance was born that year. I turned 50 that year, and I broke my leg that year.
And that's when we came back and hit the horses. Remember I said Grandpa had hurt something, so he couldn't run. I had to run. That's what it was.
Man, 88 was a good year.
And I'll bet you I had a pet that none of you will ever have had. No.
Oh, jealous.
I had a deer. We raised Bambi. We had Bambi for 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And then
So we had a deer.
Did you just keep it in corral or?
No, he just was around.
I heard from his grandpa Rick that you and him used to rope some different kind of animals.
Well, when we were in the park.
What did you used to rope, Grandpa?
We tried to rope bear. Anything.
did you get it?
Well, we went out this one night after Dan had phoned the wardens up there to come down because there was a bear standing and she couldn't see its head because it was higher than the door. Just a little log house. And so I went out and got Rick and Lynn. Rick May. Grandpa May. Yeah. We went out and got on our horses, put the saddles on them, and got our ropes down, and we went out through the trees just out in the holler, hoping we'd find this crazy bear. But chasing bears was fun. We used to have our horse pasture out by the buffalo paddock, out under that Galloway Mountain, clear out there, and they could go up over into Horseshoe Bay, clear over to the road that goes west of the park. They could go all over. And so it'd take us sometimes 2 or 3 hours to round up the horses and stuff. And this one morning we were out there rounding up the horses, and there's an Omaha bear with 3 cows, and they were up a tree when I went by, and I went into the tree and started shaking it like crazy. And you know, those little cubs could fall out of the tree and grab a branch, just a small branch, and climb right back up. I was surprised. Anyway, we
Stay here.
chased the bears like that. And this one time there's this old boar bear that was out there mixed up with the horses. I started chasing this old bear down through the horses. We were just going crazy fast. And I got this old boar bear so nervous he just started crapping himself, throwing dung all over, so I had to slow up.
Grandpa, were you obedient or more rebellious as a teenager? Yeah.
We asked the question of were you ever in trouble? And she's
Diane
like,
say.
no.
Yeah.
We had, the kids I went with were really good kids.
He was obedient.
The worst thing, we went to Waterton one time in high school. I was in high school. And somebody had a bottle of beer and they almost got kicked out of the group.
Who was the easiest kid to raise?
It Red.
He's not even in here.
He left the house.
That's the easiest kid to
His
raise.
ears perked up. See, they came in. She's like, that? He was the easiest
How come?
to raise. Is what they
Because he's
said.
never
Until he got to be a teenager. Then all hell broke loose.